Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. We continue reading from Imam Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran with the Juz al-Quran spells. In the last session, we began reading from Surah al-Zukhruf, and we covered the first eight verses. And of course, the surah is from Al-Hamim, the Hawamim that begin with Hamim, the two letters. And typically, when you have such a beginning in a surah, there is mention of the book, of the Qur'an, of Revelation. And here we have all of these, and we may have said that Kitab because it is the Quran is described as a Kitab because it is written. It is Quran because it is recited. It is Arabic because of the its language, and that originally it is in the preserved tablet al-Kitab, اللوح المحفوظ. And in this session we'll catch up. I think we did not cover all these eight verses, though we have stated that was the aim. So inshallah, with begin with verse 5. أعوذ بالله السميع الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفنضرب عنكم الذكر صفحا أن كنتم قوما مسرفين. Should we then turn the Quranic reminder away from you simply because you have been a transgressing people? وكم أرسلنا من نبي وكم أرسلنا من نبي في الأولين. Imagine how many prophets we sent to those before, but those before also they were destroyed when they have transgressed, when they have rejected. We have rejected revelation, rejected the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا يَأْتِيهِم مِّن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. But no prophet ever came to them without being mocked. فأهلكنا أشد منهم بطشا ومضى مثل الأولين. So we destroyed those who were far mightier than these Meccans, mightier than these. The examples of their predecessors have already been related, they have already been mentioned. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ لَيَقُولُنَّ خَلَقَهُنَّ الْعَزِيزُ الْعَلِيمُ. If you ask them, addressing the Prophet ﷺ, who created the heavens and the earth, they will certainly say the Almighty, all-knowing did, all-knowing God. And I have always been fascinated by the disposition of the polytheists in the Arabian Peninsula and Mecca. They had idols, physical idols. There were idols that were put near the Kaaba, the house that was built by Abraham and Ishmael, peace be upon them. And it was only cleansed after the Prophet ﷺ and his companions conquered Mecca, and there was a general amnesty. So the aim was simply to end that power relationship. Those who persecuted the Muslims, even those ultimately, many of them became Muslim and asked for forgiveness, and including some of those who did hurt the Prophet ﷺ personally, and the Prophet ﷺ never avenged himself. In fact, the person who killed his uncle with a spear before and during these wars that the Meccans waged, polytheists waged against the Muslims. It was literally a zero sum game. So he was a slave originally, and he became Muslim, and Prophet ﷺ accepted his Islam, but he asked simply not to see him, uh, because it would remind him, but there was no punishment at all. Now, I was always fascinated with the idea that the polytheists in the Arabian Peninsula and in their responses, they have always recognized God, they have always believed in God. And this, of course, is contradictory because they had also idols. And they have always claimed that these idols are simply to bring them closer to God. At least one part of it is they are ahead of the atheists who do not believe in anything that this universe has been, will always be, and that we have emerged, evolved on our own. And I don't see how human beings could emerge on their own, and not only human beings, a bee or a butterfly or a bird. How could they emerge on their own, and why did they? Because basically the ingredients, if you will, are there. The earth itself. Why did it stop producing through evolution more species, or why did we stop ourselves from evolving more? So they recognized ولئن سألتهم من خلق السماوات والأرض ليقولون خلقهن العزيز العليم ليقولون خلقهن الله. الذي جعلكم الأرض مهدا وجعل لكم فيها سبلا لعلكم تهتدون. He is the one who has laid out the earth for you and set in it pathways for you so that you may find your way. The example, um, we needed places. It's by design that we have plains. It's by design that we have also mountains that were described in the Quran as pigs. That would basically, anyone who understands the how the tectonic plates are and how they move. These massive mountains are pigs to keep them in place, and without that, things will become really shaky practically all the time. The plains where people plant their crops, that's by design, where we can live, facilitating uh, the uh, the landscape. And we don't talk about today, or you might say, okay, I can just bring a bulldozer and smooth a place. That's not what I'm talking about. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who laid out the earth for us the way it is. And all this talk about finding a planet in our galaxy, or for example, that uh, looks like the Earth, and it could be habitable, but it's really millions of years away from us. Um, and all this talk about moving somewhere else to another planet, um, where we know already that it is not habitable. It is not. There is no atmosphere. There is no air. There is no water. Uh, you are going to live forever in a bubble. And how many people can you send there? To Mars, for example. And you'll be always living in a If you venture out your bubble, you need to have a suit to protect you from the harmful uh, sun rays, and because also you need to breathe. Subhanallah, this is earth, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid it out, laid out for us. Whether we talk about the atmosphere, the geology, the gravitational force, everything is appropriate in appropriate measures. والذي نزل من السماء ماء بقدر فأنشر به بلدة ميتة كذلك تخرجون. It is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who sends down rain from the sky in perfect measure. But He created everything in perfect measure. And I say in perfect measure. There are no coincidences. There is no chaos. إنا كل شيء خلقناه بقدر. Everything was created with measurement, with precise measurement, with which we give life to a lifeless land, and so you'll be brought forth from the grave, resurrected. So the natural the natural surroundings are full with signs. The seasons, we see it is autumn now, and and leaves are falling, and these are phases, and within a short period you'll find, unless it's an evergreen, you'll find trees that are without any leaf. All the leaves would have fallen, and one day all the leaves will fall. All human beings will die on the day before resurrection. Everyone will die, every single one. And the news we read about one or two or maybe more people die in a traffic accident. That's of course news. The news, the news is that all 8 billion people who live on Earth today are going to die within 100 years or so. But we don't talk about it. This is not pessimism. This is a dose of uh, realistic approach to things. This life is temporary, but you will be resurrected the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revives the earth with rain. والذي خلق الأزواج كلها وجعل لكم من الفلك والأنعام ما تركبون. It is He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created all things, all the pairs. So the pairs, we talk about male and female, and without the pairs, there is no life. There is no life on Earth. But the pairs could be also like the day and night, um, bitter and sweet, the plains and mountains that we have just mentioned, the heat and cold, light and darkness, life and death. All they could also be considered, but I would highlight the male and female uh, pairs, because all these attempts to legalize gay marriages, they run against divine will. If you the previous peoples who were punished, like the people of Lot, they were known to have committed one particular grave sin, uh, and you can see that there are societies that they have permitted, they have legalized, whether it's homosexuality, adultery, gambling, alcohol, drugs, uh, uh, the prostitutes, euthanasia, which is really killing, the whole story about the pro-choice movement, which is really about killing it's abortion. It's not for medical needs. Muslims are neither Republican nor Democrats in the American context. We are not Joe versus uh, Wade. Uh, it's not either or for us because there are certain things that could permit abortion, but it's not cosmetic and it's not as a way of life. It's not I'm free to do whatever I want with my body, and all this became necessary because of the fornication and the adultery that is taking place in the society, ultimately, and the drinking and people get women get pregnant, and they say unwanted. Of course, it's unwanted. It's just change your way of life. So in the past, one grave sin uh, brought the wrath of God on that community, and today you talk about communities that have transgressed beyond our imagination. What do you expect will happen? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created also for us the fulk, the ships. He guided us, and in the Quran, and He will create that which you do not know, which we see the things that we are guided to make. Uh, we talk about aeroplanes, for example, but as we have read before, the ships would use also, whether you talk about wind or later on you talk about fossil fuel or you talk about uh, non-fossil fuel, all within the creation of the universe. Talk about solar energy, so that we could ride, so that we could move things and move ourselves, so that we will be uh, that we will sit firmly on their backs لتستووا على ظهوره ثم تذكروا نعمة ربكم إذا استويتم عليه وتقولوا سبحان الذي سخر لنا هذا وما كنا له مقرنين وإنا إلى ربنا لمنقلبون. So that, so that you may sit on their backs and remember your Lord's blessings once you are settled on them, saying, and this is the dua, the supplication when you ride today, even when you hop into your car and you before you drive, before you travel, this is really also you can say the same thing as part of your dua. سبحان الذي سخر لنا هذا وما كنا له مقرنين. Glory be to the one who has subjected these for us, for we could have never done so on our own. So it's the car, it's the ship, it's the aeroplane, but it's the animals. وَإِنَّا إِلَى رَبِّنَا مُنْقَلِبُونَ, and surely to our Lord we will all return. And of course there are other supplications that you seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from harmful things that could take place on the road. And after mentioning all these blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, the human being would still those pagans, those polytheists, those they start basically attributing or basically associating part of his creation with him, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshipping. People are ungrateful, but we will start with this particular, with verse 15, inshallah, with the idea that after, with all these blessings, human beings, many are still, until today, are ungrateful by not, and of course, the problem also, even those who believe in God and they seek the law somewhere else. They would like to believe that they are good people, kind hearts, but at the same time, they lead a life that is definitely ungodly. Until the next session, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa hamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.